Welcome back to Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. In the last episode we visited the Pitaxian wine cellar in the Blackwing library, and we do have a couple of conversations that we need to go through, so let's first of all talk to Staunton, because I had a new option with him. I have seen how the other soldiers treat you. What about it? The dwarf's tone makes it clear that he has no interest in your answer. Guilty or not, they have no right to treat you that way. What rights does a traitor have? Staunton shrugs indifferently. Let's start with Daeran's conversation. The Defender's Heart is a splendid choice for the Crusade's outpost. The very sight of these walls brings back fond memories of drinks and revels. The drinks were really good, by the way. People say that you are deliberately trying Queen Galfrey's patience. Is that true? Does it even matter? All of Mendevian high society has declared war on me. They either despise me or they're trying to steer me back onto the right path. And I'm doing everything in my power to keep them on their toes. I relish the prospect of all the fun this mess in Canabris will bring. Daeran grins from ear to ear. I shall either commission a song about the great Canabris fiasco from a certain talented bard, or confuse the jewelers with a rather tall order. A batch of silver dragon toys with detachable heads. Give me a week, and they will be in every shop in the capital. On this one, I'm actually going to go with the evil one. Your jokes are silly and childish. If you really want to get your revenge, then make your enemies suffer. That is quite dangerous, tiresome, and probably not very fun. Besides, nobody has really pestered me all that much. Still, Daeran suddenly adopts a more serious expression. I wouldn't mind making the demons suffer. Our righteous society loves to frown upon the torture of prisoners. Would they frown quite so much if the prisoner in question were an incubus or succubus? May I ask you a few personal questions? You can try. I've heard stories about the tragedy that befell your family. I hope you don't feel obliged to offer me your insincere condolences on this unfortunate occasion. My whole family, my entire noble line, they all died, and demons are to blame. It's not like I actually loved any of my relatives, except for my mother, but what's gone is gone. The family crypts are full of corpses, all covered in dust and the shadows of the past. What do you cherish most in life? There are far too many things that I cherish to fit them all into a single conversation. Believe it or not, but I might be one of the most life-loving people you've ever known. Daeran smiles. His eyes are gleaming with something different from his usual impudence and irony. There's a dreamy air about him all of a sudden. I rarely meet anyone who embraces the joys of living as enthusiastically as myself. There are so many exciting and beautiful things in the world. It should be illegal to waste your time on anything you do not enjoy. And I am not afraid to repeat that to anyone's face, should it be Discari and his demonic herd, or Iomedae the Lightbringer herself. I actually kind of like that. As long as the enjoyment doesn't involve hurting others, that is actually not a bad life philosophy. Anyways, what do you hate the most? The feeling of helplessness, the lack of control over my own life, Daeran replies without thinking. And then he adds with obvious sarcasm. And onion rings, of course. I'd murder the person who came up with those abominations. You don't seem especially keen on helping people, but your knowledge of healing is truly impressive. What prompted your interest in that? If you really want to try out everything life has to offer, you also have to understand how to deal with the consequences. And I'm not talking about a simple hangover, mind you. Do you have any good stories about your past exploits? I've got plenty, but I have to warn you that even the most outrageous debauchery sounds far less thrilling when you were not the one doing the debauching. Still, since you asked, I suppose the worst mess I've ever gotten myself into was when I staged my own kidnapping. I was once in correspondence with one of the Riverland's nobles, the young Lord Lebeda, and he told me about his days as a hostage to a group of bandits. This made me wonder what it would be like, and I thought that it might be fun to set up a little experiment. I engineered my own kidnapping by a certain gang through a chain of intermediaries and hired actors. Those fellows took the job very seriously. They caught me by surprise, killed my 2 bodyguards, and even tied me up. Of course, the whole thing seems preposterous now, but it seemed like an ingenious idea at the time. The employers had told the kidnappers that they were to keep me safe and sound, and another group of mercenaries in disguise was watching the spectacle from afar, ready to interfere in case anything went wrong. Turned out to be a terrible idea nonetheless. It wasn't the least bit fun or exciting. Sure, those bandits had been unable to torture or hurt me physically in any way, but they had plenty of other non-invasive methods of humiliation in their arsenal. Taking almost all of your clothes off and splashing ice-cold water all over you, for example. Ugh, I can't even remember if I said anything truly offensive to provoke them. Even though I initially planned to let them go after the ransom, their overly emotional reactions made me change my mind. I told my mercenaries to hang them all on the spot. I suppose the whole ordeal taught me a valuable lesson, which is that I am not built for hardships and trials. Wait, you just told me that a couple of your bodyguards died during the staged kidnapping? Does that mean 2 innocent people lost their lives so you could have a bit of fun? Daeran pales a little, but not out of shame. Oh, spare me. It irks me beyond all measure when I hear about the suffering of innocents. He sighs, looks away, and continues in a flat, polite tone. Yes, the bodyguards died. Guarding nobles is a dangerous job. They were well aware of the risk. I don't really see a problem with that. Besides, they proved their incompetence. They would have stood no chance against real kidnappers. These mind games of yours will come back to bite you sooner or later. I hope not. I enjoy myself, I enjoy my life, and I'd like to keep this going for as long as possible. So that was a stupid story, and now I'll tell you a truly brilliant one. Prelate Halloran had always strictly prohibited any public celebrations in Kenabres, and he always picked on me for my lack of respect for the fallen and whatnot. His grumbling annoyed me so much that one day I drove 4 barges into the city harbour and set up a celebration on their decks. The ships on the river didn't fall under the prelate's jurisdiction, you see, so all he could do was snarl at me from the embankment. I, for one, did not forget the old boy. The main attraction of the festivities involved an inquisitor of Iomedae dancing and roasting beautiful witches on illusory bonfires, taking off his clothes with every new victim. The spectacle was so heated, in every sense of the word, that the prelate almost had a stroke. Daeran gives you a mischievous smile. I still consider that one of my finest ideas of all time. Should the crusaders ever succeed in their efforts against the Worldwound, I will do my utmost to get permission to hold a grand public celebration. Rivers of wine free of charge, an obligatory parade and a carnival in the evening. A contest for the most provocative succubus costume with a hefty prize in gold. Another contest where the participants will have to fish a sausage out of a wine jar, blindfolded with their hands tied behind their backs. The wine will symbolize the blood of all the dead heroes of the war. And the sausage? Well, they'll find a heroic meaning for that as well. Over the years, the commemoration of the greatest victory of light over darkness will turn into an ordinary holiday, a fine excuse to get sloshed and rot like animals in the streets. Do you enjoy being mean to everyone? Yes. And here I thought you were hurling insults at people purely by accident. Daeran laughs. This time his smile is surprisingly soft. I like your way with words. What did you expect me to say if I wanted to make a good impression? Something along the lines of, I'm not mean, I'm just being honest with myself and everyone else. That's what people use as an excuse when they want to keep up their saccharine facade while saying whatever nasty little thoughts spring to mind. Geesh, that is so true. That is like spot on. That is not why I do. That is not what I do. I have no hidden agenda. I'm just as much of an insufferable prick as I seem to be. Some people are simply begging for a good dose of mockery, so who am I to deny them? I don't give a damn if anyone holds a grudge against me, which is why I don't even try to avoid it. I have no more questions. I hope this conversation was at least the slightest bit amusing. Oh, you have no idea, I'm having a hard time here. I'd like to talk about life in Mendev and the Crusade. Ask, I'm all ears. What is your opinion on Mendev today in general? It doesn't exist. Daeran scowls. It is a frontier country that has attracted every utopian, adventurer, and fanatic from all over the world for more than a century. It is a place where the strangers outnumber the locals, especially in the cemeteries. The population of Mendev for the most part consists of humans and other races not exactly known for their longevity, so the current generation of Mendevians were born in the shadow of the Worldwound and raised by the Crusades. I might be the last person to complain about the decline of traditions and lack of character in our country, but I also happen to come from one of Mendev's most ancient lineages. Its history is bred deep in my bones. My tutors told me stories about my heritage. The galleries, libraries, and even the interiors of the manors I grew up in were filled to the brim with memories of events long past. There are many heroes of old Mendev among my glorious ancestors, or at the very least patrons and contemporaries of such heroes. Does anyone actually remember them now? I don't think so. These days Mendev has its own heroes, in shining armor and with holy fire in their eyes. I myself remember how several streets that once celebrated my ancestors were renamed in honor of some crusaders who had died in a heroic fashion. None of the citizens remember the old crossing festival that was eventually replaced by Armas. These holidays even share the same date. Pretty much the only authentic thing about Mendev now is its endless war with the demons. And is there a point in bemoaning this state of affairs? What's gone is gone, but at least we are no longer some tiny godforsaken northern kingdom, and that's something, isn't it? You don't really like crusaders, do you? Quite the opposite. When I think about how many devoted heroes are willing to protect this world against the demonic threat, I feel so inspired. Inspired to continue indulging my vices while they fight to keep me safe. Imagine being someone like me, someone who has everything they can possibly desire. Youth, beauty, wealth, an honest wish to live and enjoy living, but vanishingly few ways to put it all to use. The fact that the word fun itself is not yet outlawed in Mendev must be due to some bureaucratic oversight. You can celebrate your victories solemnly, you can wet your whistle after a challenging battle, but what about real fun? Joys, pleasures? I can't remember a single evening at court without someone chastening me for my banquets, my lovers and mistresses, my luxuriant clothes, my everything. It would have been a lot easier to tolerate all those hypocrites if they took a break once in a while. Instead, there was a constant fuss about how I wasn't doing anything for the greater good and how I only brought shame to my royal cousin. What do you think of our enemies? Do you mean the demons themselves or their followers? The former deserved to be cleansed with heavenly fire for their unholy origin alone, and the latter for their idiocy. I don't understand why a sane person would submit themselves to Discari or Cabriri. All right, Lady Nocticula almost seems like a bearable enough mistress. Yet there are so many other cultists. They've tried to recruit me twice already, and I'm not even that old. First, a very pretty tiefling girl tried to seduce me, and then they came with promises of Lord Baphomet's endless boons. I still wonder what exactly the old Hornhead could offer me that I don't already have. Do you know what I've been thinking? Every shopkeeper knows this trick. An enticing offer along the lines of, 1 in every 100 buns from my bakery contains a silver coin. And of course, a hired actress to make a memorable show of finding said coin in her sweet roll. And there you have it. Hundreds of gullible fools storm the shop hoping to win a prize for themselves. I think the infamous Arilu Vorlesh was such an actress for the Lords of the Abyss. A petty Sarkorian witch who became the uncrowned queen of the Worldwound, waited upon hand and foot by demon lords. Only, instead of visiting a bakery, the gullible fools rushed to join the cultists. You have an army of unbelievably powerful supernatural invaders from another dimension, hell-bent on destruction and domination. And what do those poor fools do? They serve them willingly as pawns and lackeys, hoping against hope that someday their masters will notice them. You won't believe how delighted I am to be so vain and self-absorbed. These sins protect me against demonic temptation better than any virtue. I can't think of anything else at the moment. Wonderful. What made you join my party after all? You mean instead of carousing far away from Canabras with a small army of mercenaries to protect me? I will get to that. You see, when you appeared at my door out of nowhere, awash with bravery and heroism, and started tossing demons around like ragdolls, I thought that your company might be more exciting than my usual crowd of sycophantic hangers-on. You seemed competent and mysterious at the same time, so I decided that a little demon hunting wouldn't hurt, especially with such an intriguing entourage. That party had been growing staler with every passing second anyway. Needless to say, I'm not here for long. I shall return to the capital or even one of my country estates as soon as we reclaim the city. Crusades, bellowing commanders, row upon row of identical tents. This is not the life for me, but I will certainly remember you and our adventures together. For a week, or perhaps even longer than that. I should go. Goodbye. Right, quick little break there. There we go. Daeran is absolutely hilariously outrageous. But in all of his... I mean, he's neutral evil, I think? Yep. But in all of his outrageousness, he also makes some good points every here and there. The blind elf looks better than he did in your last encounter. His clothes are clean and his pale face has some color. The elf turns to you and listens closely. Is that you, my savior? I recognized your footsteps. Determined footsteps befitting of a determined person. Allow me to thank you again for saving me. Please accept this humble gift as a token of my appreciation. The elf hands you a small black ring with 2 scarlet runes on it. Irabeth has explained why you were looking for me. I warned the authorities of Canabras that the local wardstone had been desecrated, but they waved off my warning and paid for their inaction. I have examined many wardstones, but only in the one guarding Canabras did I sense a flaw, a spot of corruption inside. A vulnerability the demons will surely use. They are able to spread the blight inside the wardstone, corrupt it, and make it their weapon. It frightens me to think what it will be capable of. The wardstone must be destroyed. Who are you, and why did they let you examine the wardstone? Elf smiles faintly. I am the Storyteller. Just an old elf, and a bit more. I am old even for an elf. I've seen many things and have been to many places. Not so long ago I witnessed the making of a young kingdom in the Stolen Lands, led by a remarkable and promising individual. My advice on the complicated matter of conquering those lands proved useful to that leader. And he's referring to Pathfinder Kingmaker here. This is not uncommon for me. Some seek my advice or services, and I don't refuse. This is how I acquired my reputation as an old vagrant who's never hurt anyone, stayed out of others' squabbles, but sometimes gave good advice. I had a few friends in Erosian who vouched for my integrity. This is why my humble request to be allowed to see the wardstones was granted. I visited all of them, but only found cause for alarm in Canabras. Do you wield some special magic power? Some instinct? Yes, to a certain extent, but it is more of a gift. I can see the past. Stories that have happened. I touch an object and shreds of its owner's memories are revealed to my mind. Their emotions, passions, and tragedies. I see visions like I am them, and their stories happen to me. This is my power. I have been roaming the world gathering such stories for many thousands of years. One day, I will gather them all. What blight is concealed in the wardstone? I'm afraid I don't have the answer to your question. To understand the nature of this blight, we need to understand how the wardstone was created. And it is hidden from me. I can only guess. Have you heard of the Red Morning Massacre? A dreadful morning remembered with fear, even by those not yet born at the time. A demoness called Minago invaded the city with a crowd of her followers and started to do what demons do best: kill and desecrate. They say they covered the wardstone with pieces of dead bodies, splashed it with blood from top to bottom. Would such an abomination darken the radiance of the gift by Arendae herself? The locals think this is impossible, but who knows? It was not the last attack. Many demon leaders brought their unholy forces here, even the terrifying Balor Koramzadeh. Their attacks were rebuffed, but they still reached their target. I think this is when the seed of corruption was planted in the stone. It wouldn't have grown on its own, but Deskari himself has now come to take advantage of this weakness, to open the abscess that has been festering for years, unnoticed by the people of Canabras. And when the demon lord struck the blow, the weakened stone gave in. Now it is in demon hands, and nothing is stopping them from spreading the blight throughout the entire stone, and from it to the other stones along the whole perimeter of the Worldwound. Why did you travel to the wardstones? I tried to see their stories. The visions I had when I touched the wardstones were unclear. I saw hundreds, maybe thousands of different stories at the same time. They followed each other like flashes of lightning. It was impossible to separate them. I couldn't understand where one of them ended and the next began. I have heard you, Storyteller. In that case, you must make every possible effort to destroy the corruption. Unfortunately, I don't know where to get an instrument powerful enough to banish it from the wardstone. As far as I know, there is nothing like it in Canabras, but the demons might have something. I heard the dying roar of Terendelev, the silver dragon, the protector of the city. At the same time, I felt a wave of unfamiliar power sweep over me from head to toe. I would advise you to go where Terendelev perished and search there for something. I am sorry I can't be more specific, but intuition and a strange sense of rightness tell me to point you there. Present the purple stone knife. I found this in the square where Terendelev perished. What do you make of it? The storyteller reaches out and says softly, "Even from here I can feel strange energies emanating from this object. If you don't mind, I will examine it using my method. I will try to see the past of its owner, their emotions, and shreds of their memories. Maybe it'll better help us understand what we are dealing with." The storyteller touches the knife, his fingers clamping around the hilt with a hungry, masterful grip. His face contorts into an evil grimace, his voice disgustingly raspy. And I will not try to voice over that. Hunger. My many legs bring me into the lair, to my mother's feasting hall. Her swollen body, overfilled with food, is so huge that I have to look at it with all of my eyes at once. On top is her scrawny little head with a long beak that is always yearning for more food. You feel feverish, and your chest, where the mysterious wound is concealed, feels hot. Your mind is flooded with a wave of visions that repeat the words of the old elf. Mother greets me with a placid screech. Stupid, greedy wretch, whose only achievement is my birth. A creeping, wingless creature. It is your fault I have no wings. A symbol of greatness, a birthright I should have received from my mighty father. Mother points me to a crowd of whimpering subjects, suggesting I fortify myself with their pathetic flesh. Not today. I summon my spawn and they fly to me, enveloping me in a teeming cloud. Like dark, buzzing wings, they unfold behind my back and lift me up. Mother has always been stronger, but she did not expect this. I dive on her and rip her limp, bloated body with my claws. Ichor splatters, the bone spurs on my heels sink into her flesh. I clench her pitiful tiny head and tear it off, along with the shreds of meat. Victory! I am the strongest. I am the son of my winged father. The elf grimaces with distaste, his voice becomes normal again. Appalling. Stories like that are the most difficult ones to keep with me. Did this knife belong to a demon? The storyteller opens his mouth to answer, but a sudden spasm crosses his face. A new vision, a much stronger one, engulfs the old elf. The malevolent undertones vanish from his voice as it grows more determined and tired. Even looking at the wardstone is difficult. Despite the corruption nesting in it, it still has an aura of strength. Your fingers clench the stone hilt so tight it hurts. A little spot on the flawless surface of the wardstone draws your attention. It looks like a butterfly. Corruption in the guise of something utterly harmless, but it will grow. You swing and stab the butterfly with a knife as hard as you can. Your fingers cramp painfully. A howl invades your ears. Light, white light everywhere. The stone knife falls from the old elf's hand. Out of breath, he drops to his knees. He is trembling, the terror on his face so unlike his usual dignified manner. What was that? That was not the past. That was something that is yet to happen, or rather might happen. One of the roads to the future. In one of the possible futures, this item will help you to cleanse the wardstone. Or to destroy it. You feel a longing to take the stone chisel and plunge it into your chest, right into the wound that has opened up in it. It is hard to resist this feeling, but at the last moment your self-preservation instinct takes over and you manage to keep control of your own hands. The old man stands up. He looks completely stunned. Never before has anything like this happened to me. But how? I am not an oracle or a prophet. Or is this another riddle from the past that has caught up with me? I must find out. Seeing stories that have happened is one thing, but seeing stories that are yet to happen? I don't know why this is happening now, but there is one thing I am sure of. This is not a coincidence. This is a sign of coming changes. Great changes. I shared your vision, and this knife tempted me. Did you see what I saw? This has never happened before. Could it be the magic of the object that you brought me? I sense dark energies in it that can cloud and charm the mind. Be careful with this item. It may have tried to influence you, but you managed to overcome its power and subdue it. Perhaps something else happened to us, something we don't yet understand. Can you see the future? I don't know. Obviously I can, but nothing like this has ever happened to me before. The future never opened its secrets to me before I met you. Gods, who are you, and why have our paths crossed? I feel this is not a coincidence. Something momentous is happening. Destiny is pushing us towards something. But what? Questions without answers. I swear this morning I couldn't have imagined what awaited me. Maybe it's the knife that gives you the power of divination? This knife is a powerful artifact, but I feel that its power is of a completely different nature. No, I felt the same as I do when I tell the past. This is my gift, but manifested in a completely abnormal way. Is what you saw destined to happen? No, the future is not set. It used to be a long time ago, when the god Arendae guarded Golarion, but not now. Prophecies do not come true, or they do, but not the way they were supposed to. I only saw one version of the future, one of the paths leading to it, but the choice has not been made, and our destinies are not set in stone. Who were you in your vision? I don't know. Someone strong and desperate enough to resort to extreme measures. I felt that what I was doing had to be done. Your powers are amazing. A few minutes ago I would have agreed with you, but the thing that has just happened, it disturbs me. My gift has never manifested like this. Something has changed, and these changes frighten me. Just get this grayed out. Please, examine the items I'm carrying. Perhaps some of them could tell us a story. Let me touch them, and I'll tell you what I can see. The old elf carefully takes Yaniel's sword Radiance. Powerful forces lie dormant in this sword. It used to belong to an incredibly bright and daring soul. The storyteller's hand runs carefully over the scale that has still not lost its shine. Proud Terendalev, protector of Kenabres, you devoted your life to serving people. Your death is a great loss, but maybe I will be able to find out something about you that is unknown to your many admirers. The storyteller's hand touches Finian. What a peculiar weapon. I sense intelligence in it, but it seems dented. Yeah, Grandpa Elf, watch where you're poking your fingers. It tickles. The storyteller fiddles with a fragment of a gold buckle. An old thing created long ago by divine will, but the power that gave birth to it is lost in the darkness. However, the relic still lives on, though it has changed. I wonder what secret it is hiding. Would you like to know it? Bring me 5 vials of magic essence and I will revive this object, and with it, its story. This is the same story as we had before. 2 seconds, please. There we go. Just needed to rest my voice for a little bit there. Let's present Radiance. What do you see in its past? The storyteller touches the blade with his finger. Sadness rings in his voice. Dresden is doomed. Demons attacked right when we lost the protection of the Sword of Valor. My city, my bastion of hope. We built you as a symbol that the lands mutilated by the Abyss could still be restored to mortals. Now you are perishing, and there is nothing I can do. We retreat. No, we flee. A frightened crowd rushes out into the night through the southern gate. They are chased by the angry howls of demons, killing the last defenders of the citadel. My heart goes out to them, but I'm standing still on the wall. I am covering the retreat. Demons do not attack. They seethe around you. Fall from the sky, strike from all sides at once. They can't be stopped, but they can be distracted. I run to the upper floor of the gate tower. Radiance glows with a golden light in my hands. I permit myself to close my eyes for just one heartbeat. I imagine that the soft glimmering of the sword I see through my closed eyelids is the light of the summer sun. I smile. I open my eyes and call out, "Hey, the scar is spawn. Who wants to be? Who wants the best trophy of the night? You know my name, Yaniel. You know how many of you I have killed with this very hand? You want to curry favor with Darzand, Minago, or the echo of your lord? Bring them my head. if you can. Roaring and screaming, they rush toward me in a wave of deformed bodies and unfurled wings. The wave crashes against me, spattering my armor with bloody froth. Broken wings and chopped up bodies plummet to the foot of the tower. In the heat of the battle, I see Daeran's pale face down there. He looks up at me in desperation, but he can't help. He's carrying 2 wounded on his shoulders. My city will fall, but my friends will survive. This is what I'm fighting for. I am covering the retreat. The flow of fleeing people gradually dwindles. My armor is broken in many places and I cannot heal my wounds anymore. The last demon I stabbed with radiance suddenly recoils, tearing the handle out of my blood-slickened hand. He flies up, but falls somewhere far behind the walls by the road being taken by those fleeing. No more golden glow in my hands. The night closes in on me, filled with shrieking, mocking demon laughter. Drezen, I am dying with you. Light of the sword, righteous Iomedae, accept my soul. The storyteller runs his hand along the blade with a sad smile. I know whose memory this is. I've heard about her so many times. Yaniel was a true crusader. Touching her memories is so cleansing. Do you see the future of this sword? Just one of the numerous possibilities. The blind elf touches the sword hilt and metal rings in his voice. I slide out of the sheath swiftly. I proudly watch the army of warriors led by my lord. I sing, slashing the air, putting courage in their hearts. I am radiance. Tremble, city of Drezen. My lady Yaniel has perished, but I am not done yet. Charge! The storyteller returns the sword to you. It is nice to know that this sword's glory days are not over. It has many battles ahead. Take care of it. It is a glorious sword. Tell me about Terendelev. The storyteller takes a deep breath and smiles. I am flying. I can finally spread my wings. I am gliding over a broad river. The sunset has turned its surface smooth like a mirror, and I see my reflection. It is as if another silver dragon is rising to meet me from the depths. But what is it? The scales on my chest are black and the darkness is spreading over my body. I wake up. A clear sky sways above me, blazing with heat. I am in human form. The red dust of the wound clings to my cracked lips. Someone is carrying me on a stretcher made of shields and spears. I am so weak I can barely lift my hand to my face. The sight of my own hand terrifies me. It is black, and the skin glistens like scales melted by fire. I probably ought to cry, but I only feel hatred and nausea. All these people around me, out of sympathy for them, did I choose to leave the mountains. I gave up my flights over rivers. I went to the demon's lair. They don't have a scratch on them, but I am infected with foulness. It's not fair. My life is more precious than their pathetic existence. Oh, how I hate them in this moment. And then I suddenly feel shame. No, these are not my thoughts. The crusaders carrying me are my good friends. I am glad they did not suffer. But I hate them and myself so much. Pain and hatred pierce me all at once. It is all because of them. All because of them. Someone walking beside me touches me, talks to me, but the only thing I hear is, "Your mentor. He will come. He will help." And I lose consciousness. The storyteller takes a deep breath, exiting the vision. Such hatred from Terendelev. Wasn't she on our side? Terendelev has come a long way. Her unit was ambushed by demons once, and she was infected with foulness. The Terendelev you met in Canabras had gone through many trials and regained her former purity. What happened next? The storyteller puts his hand to his forehead. Sometimes the past can be as vague as the future. We all know how Terendalev's story ended, but the beginning is hidden from us. Maybe if you find something else that used to belong to her, we will know more about her struggle. However, no matter what we learn, remember, her soul, the soul of a pure dragon, overcame every obstacle and endured every torment. She was able to purify herself. For dragons are truly powerful not only in body, but in spirit too. Show Finian. Tell me what you see. Hello, Grandpa Elf. The storyteller carefully takes Finian from your hands. Hello, Finian. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. His face contorts into a painful grimace. I'm coming to again. How long have I been here? They kept me in a cage for 3 days. I know this because 3 times the light under the door disappeared for a long time. Then they chained me to this table, and the bladesmith, everyone calls him the bladesmith, he placed the device with a jar over me. It feels like I'm being fried. At first I tried to break free, but I got tired. Then I screamed, but now I've lost my voice, though the pain is burning right through me. The storyteller stops. His voice changes, becoming more frightened. I think I lost consciousness again, but when I woke up, the pain was gone, and I wasn't tied to the table anymore. I was standing near it, and someone else was lying on the table, a burned corpse covered with a black crust. The master took out a handsaw and was sawing off his head in a very focused way. I should have run back then, but I couldn't for some reason. This burned corpse had a symbol on his belt just like I do, an eye and a star. My favorite belt, a good one. Why would a stranger get one? It must have been someone from my clan, some distant family member. The storyteller stops. When he speaks again, you only hear a muffled whisper. Those crusaders. I was glad when I saw them. I thought they'd come to help, but how? How was it that I killed them all? Someone told me to, and I obeyed. I don't understand. I understand nothing now. I need to catch my breath. I need all this to stop, even just for a minute. I just have to understand what's happening to me. Just need to rest. The storyteller shakes his head, slowly coming to his senses. That is Finian's past, but what awaits him in the future? The dead have no future, but... The storyteller smiles. I see an endless ocean on a good day and a boat flying over the waves. I am so excited, but I don't know whose vision this is. Is this a soul existing here and now, or a soul reborn? Thank you for your story. Please take care of this young lad. He is finally in the right hands. Do not worsen his suffering by involving him in dishonorable deeds. Come on, Grandpa Elf. I can take care of myself. I'm not a kid. I don't know what horrors you were talking about, but don't you worry about it, alright? Look after yourself. We have more important things to do. Return with the new stories. I will be waiting. Can I help you? The storyteller nods gratefully. I appreciate your offer. I have reason to believe that somewhere in Kenabres there is a manuscript authored by an elf from Kyonin who witnessed Earthfall. The storyteller's voice suddenly breaks and he stops for a moment. For personal reasons, I would like to examine it, but no matter how hard I try, I have failed to find it. Even in the Blackwing library, I only found a mention that the manuscript exists and is held somewhere in the city. I assume it is stored at the Grey Garrison. They wouldn't let me into the archive when I visited. All those crusaders were nervous about the strange blind elf interested in their secrets. It is understandable, the crusade naturally made them a little paranoid. But now the Grey Garrison has fallen into the enemy's hands. I would be grateful if I could see the manuscript. I want to know more about you. The old elf permits himself a faint smile. I am not surprised. A strange, peculiar-looking elf with unusual powers who comes from afar and calls himself a collector of stories. Such things usually spark some interests. I will answer your questions. Who are you, and where are you from? Before, I would have said that I was a blacksmith from Kyonin who lost his sight and then found his true calling in a new craft, that of a story collector. But I have lately begun to suspect that those words are no more than a lie. The old elf chuckles sadly. It's quite the irony. I never thought I'd have cause to complain about my memory. It holds the stories of the entire world, but I have noticed more and more alarming signs recently. I encounter ancient stories and see myself in them. I don't remember those events, but stories cannot lie, so it means that my memory is lying, and I intend to get to the bottom of it. I'm looking for proof that my visions are true, and for the reason why my past has been hidden from me. You look ancient. I thought elves didn't get old. The blind man straightens his bony back with dignity. As you can see, we do, if we manage to live for many thousands of years. There may not be a single mortal in this world older than me. The storyteller sighs and continues with a sad smile. Anyway, it is not about time, it's about the stories I keep inside. There is so much suffering and sadness in this world, and in my stories too. I've lived every one of them. I've drunk this bitter experience and accepted it in my heart. It's hard, the weight of all this suffering on my shoulders, but I wouldn't trade my burden for any other. Where did you get your strange powers? Storyteller shrugs. I've always got along well with things. I used to be a blacksmith, that I know for sure. I have always felt the essence of things, their spirit. For as long as I can remember, I have always been able to feel the traces of memories and feelings left on things by their former owners. I don't know where this gift comes from. Maybe, having taken my sight, the gods granted me another sense. How do you see into the future? I cannot say. Such visions are new to me. My instinct has always worked toward the past, not to the future. But some things change. Everything changes. So do I. Perhaps right now the stories that are yet to happen are more important than the ones that have happened already. Why did you come to the Worldwound? Searching for the truth about my real past has brought me here. I saw myself in others' stories. In them I was called the elf in the tower. Now I am looking for this tower, my tower, everywhere. I've been to many places and I've visited islands and deserts, but I haven't found it. There are very few uncharted territories on my map. The Worldwound is one of them. How do you collect stories? The same way a court philanderer collects his conquests, the way a healer has a personal cemetery of patients he failed to save. The way every person, including you, has a box of secret, most precious experiences deep down in their soul that no one is allowed to touch. The world is not made of things, or matter even. It's made of stories. They move from the past to the future, piercing our world at the point of here and now. They give meaning to everything. They are the meaning, and everything else is only the setting required for stories to exist. There is nothing more real and alive than a story, and anything real and alive can die or be destroyed, distorted, forgotten. But as long as I carry these stories with me, they will not be lost. This is why I don't often share my stories. By sharing one with you, I give you the right to tell it to others, to distort and embellish it advertently or inadvertently. How can I be sure you will keep its original purity? Stories travel from one person to another. They change, become distorted, turn into tall tales. This is why I keep my stories to myself. I have no more questions. That's what you think. In fact, the world is full of amazing things, and you still have a lot of questions. They just haven't bubbled up to the surface of your consciousness yet. I have a few questions about our encounter in the Blackwing library. Of course, I make no secret of why I came to the library. I was looking for something. What were you doing there? I was looking for a very old thing. Rumor has it some ancient scroll or a book page about the times of Earthfall is held in Canabras. According to the legend, it describes the last days of the proud kingdom of Kyonin, later abandoned by the elves fleeing Golarion. I have a vague hope that the events described in it will shed some light on my past. Did you find what you were looking for? The storyteller shakes his head gloomily. Alas, no. But I found proof that the book that I am looking for is in Canabras, or at least a part of it is. I see. Thank you again for your help. I have to go. I wish you interesting adventures. I think that's about it. If I go see the other companions now, they should only have the I don't need you in my party line. Camellia, could talk to her later on, but I didn't ask this one to Woljif. Are you really staying in the party or just waiting for a chance to run off? Woljif gives you a hurt look. As if I could. There are demons and dangers around every corner. The tiefling stops short. Don't you worry, Chief. I'll work off my debt honestly. I won't stab you in the back or go on the run with your money. And if you buy my wares, I won't have to leave at all. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap up the episode around here. I have a couple of things that I need to sell, and then in the next episode we'll go talk to Irabeth, because we need to go to the Grey Garrison next. That should be interesting. And that'll probably be a couple of episodes, because the Grey Garrison is pretty large. But for now, if you do have any questions or comments, then please do feel free to leave those in the comment section. And thank you all so much for joining me. I hope to see you all in the next episode.